The Broken Empires RPG is coming to Kickstarter this summer. If you want to help me bring this game to life, go to play.thebrokenempires.com and sign up for your VIP membership today. And as they're walking into the room, I think what happens is a large section of the ceiling starts to collapse, and they've got to dodge out of the way, or else they're going to take some danger. That is the nature of the hazard. They've got to dodge out of the way right now. Well, hello and welcome back once again to Me, Myself, and I, Season 4 Legacy. This is Episode 7. I am, as always, your intrepid GM, host, and player, Trevor Duval. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And if you do want to help support what I do, please do consider hitting liking and subscribing, or perhaps even helping the channel going by joining us on Patreon or the YouTube channel memberships. And of course, I am launching this game as a Kickstarter very soon, so keep your eyes open for that. All that information is in the video description below. Quick little recap. Vale and Thrag were ambushed outside the palace as they were trying to infiltrate it by the assassins of the Silent Death. They managed to kill them, drive one off, and capture another one, where they discovered the Death Knight had, in fact, hired these Silent Death assassins to track her. They were tracking Vale by the Spirit Mantle. They also discovered the Death Knight himself is in the city. He is currently lairing in the old quarters of Montserrat when he was serving the Vizier, the Vizier Adventurer all those years ago, and he has maintained some sort of arcane connection with the Lich through some kind of magical thing in those quarters, deep under the sewers of the city. So, in the old city, the old ruined city that's been built on top of and on top of and on top of. Vale knows how to track him now because she had used the proximity of the assassin to locate him. So she can kind of sniff him out a little bit, which is very good. But before we get to that, there's a few things we need to take care of. First of all, the threads from last time. Infiltrate the palace, we don't need that anymore. Evade the Silent Death assassins, I don't think we need to worry about that anymore because we've sort of dealt with the Silent Death assassins. I don't think they're going to be a problem again. However, we are adding the thread go to the Death Knight's lair, so I will do that now. So we have no characters to add to the list, but our chaos factor weirdly is going to go down because we were really largely in control last time. So I just spent her 4 XP. She raised her endurance to 50, her willpower to 51, stealth to 69, and her bind destroy, which is one of her magic skills, to her max of 35. She's a fade, so that's a hybrid magic user, so she can't raise any magic skill past 35. Now, I think before Vale and Thrag take their leave of the general, I think the general suggests that perhaps he might be able to help her somehow. Vale, if you are in fact going to track down this terrible abomination, this creature, this Death Knight, there must be something I can do to help you. I, of course, myself cannot go with you, for I have business to attend to in the palace, and my absence would be noted. But perhaps there is something I could assist you with, considering the danger of this mission of yours. Is there? I think the answer is probably yes. I'm just not sure what the help might look like. So first of all, I think it's near certain he's gonna help her in this, which is 21. It's a regular yes. What is the nature of his help? Right away, I'm tempted to say that he just gives basically 2 members of his personal guard to go with her. I'm gonna assume that that's what he does. So he's going to basically give her 2 members of his household guard to go with her to help be some muscle, in case she needs it, which she probably will. Thank you, General. Any help that you can provide will, of course, be much appreciated. She still needs to rest. She needs to rest and get her resolve back before she goes in to deal with the Death Knight. She has to deal with this fact that right now the Death Knight is still tracking her because of that. Yeah, Spirit Mantle. So here's what happens. Thrag looks at her and gestures to the Spirit Mantle in her possession, as if to say, because again, he's mute, but he can communicate with her through various glances and sign language and things like that. They are tracking you through the Spirit Mantle, and we need to ensure that you have time to rest to prepare yourself for tomorrow's obstacles. I will take this Spirit Mantle and I will go elsewhere and hide, and I will meet you back in the morning. And I think he brooks no argument. And she kind of sees the wisdom of that, as much as she hates to separate from him. Very well, old friend. Just promise me you'll be careful. And she extends her hand and gives the old clasp of arms, warrior to warrior. Thrag takes the mantle, trundles into his pack, and I think he's about to go off into the evening to find a place to stay. But the general says, Vale, allow me to host your friend this evening. If the assassins try to come back, they will have to contend with my household guard and get past them and over the walls of my manse. So Thrag and the general go off to the general's manse somewhere else in the city, thereby distracting any probing magical eyes that might be searching for Vale through the spirit mantle, which allows her to go back to the inn where she can get some much needed rest. I think because the assassins have been temporarily thwarted, at least for this night, and the spirit mantle is in Thrag's possession, I don't think there's much of a chance that Vale is bothered this night by anybody, but the dice will always tell the tale, so let us see. I think it's nearly impossible that she is disturbed. No, she is not. So she gets a full night's rest, which means that she's able to recover all of her spent resolve, and also she gets to do a healing roll as the night passes. The healing roll, her recovery is 43, so this is to determine if she can recover any of those 2 wound points that she has in her left thigh. The answer is yes. Okay, awesome. Successful recovery roll reduces wound points by 1 + 1 per 2 SLs. So that's going to be 2 points. Turns out it wasn't a particularly bad wound. The effective wound is gone now. Which means the next morning, Thrag does emerge, unless he was bothered. Is it possible that these assassins tracked down Thrag at the general's mansion thinking it was Vale? Again, I think it's nearly impossible because they've had a couple of big setbacks twice in a row now, so I think it's nearly impossible. Oh my god, well, there was a 15% chance of yes, rolled a 17, so it is a no, but very close. Great. Thrag comes back to the inn with the 2 extra guards that the general has basically loaned them, and now they are going to make their way into the sewers, using her powers, trying to track down the location of where the Death Knight is lairing, which of course is the old residence of the Lich. So they make their way to a particular sewer entrance because she's basically following her, magical senses essentially. And they emerge, or they descend into the sewers. Now the sewers themselves are not the place that she's looking to remain for obvious reasons, but also the sewers themselves are built on top of the old city. So what they need to do is make their way through the sewers until they find some sort of access point down into the old city. This is going to be a perception roll. And she's going to get Thrag's help with this. They're going to find the entrance. This is to determine how fast or slow it takes them to do that. So she's rolling at 60. Oh, wow, that's great. Well, actually, it's not great. It's 1 degree of success. So I'm going to say that it takes them several hours in order to find the entrance they're looking for, sloshing through the sewers. Really gross stuff. Luckily, Vale does not have any open wounds, so I don't have to worry about getting infection from this wound. That would have been bad. But they're able to find essentially a crumbled set of stones in the wall of the sewer that when they pull aside, they are able to discover a set of winding stairs, ancient steps that lead down into darkness. So she lights her torch and down into the darkness they go. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I picked up last year at Gen Con this handy dandy little thing called the Dungenerator. I don't know if you can see that. This is a series of cards to randomly create like a dungeon, essentially. I've created a little system, an exploration system here, which is fairly straightforward. Essentially, this is the entrance to the Undercity. When they leave this entrance area, I'm gonna draw a random card, and that's gonna be the next room. And then I'm gonna roll a die on a table I've created, and that die is gonna determine what is in the room or what's in the area. Upon placing the 4th card, I'm gonna start to roll a d10, and again, it's like a timer die, and if I roll the number of cards on the table or less, that means they found the entrance. So the goal here is to try and find the entrance to the Lich's old quarters in the old city before too many bad things happen to them down here, okay? Boom. They emerge there. So it emerges into a small antechamber and then a passage that goes into a large circular chamber. This looks like it might have been an ancient well of some sort, but as they make their way into this room, their boots echoing in the silence of these ancient high vaulted ceilings, they can feel the rumbling of the thousands of many feet far above them that are causing bits of silt and sediment to fall from the ceiling just from the fact there's another city on top of them right now. But as they make their way into here, let us see what is in this area 10. Well, it is a trap and a hazard. Let us see what is the nature of the hazard that they encounter. Combine 23. Combine elements. Oh, okay. Combine elements, water, earth. All right. So what that means to me is I already said that there's bits of silt and sand and sediment falling from the ceiling from the pressure and the enormous weight of an entire city on top of them. And as they're walking into the room, I think what happens is a large section of the ceiling starts to collapse and they've got to dodge out of the way or else they're going to take some danger. That is the nature of the hazard. They've got to dodge out of the way right now. I'm going to say that each block that might hit them is going to do 1d6 wound points worth of damage that armor will not help against, armor or shield. So Vale, first of all, what's coming in on her? 1. Okay, well that's gonna be okay. She's just gonna dodge out of the way. She's gonna dodge at 50. Does she do it? She does not do it, which means, oh boy, she's gonna take some damage. Let's find out where in the body, and specifically in the stomach. So she looks up and this massive bit of masonry falls and plows right in her midsection. She's gonna take a 1-point crush in the stomach. Is she incapacitated by that? She is not, because she's got a toughness of +2. So I would roll the wound die and add +2. And if I get the total amounts of wounds or less, she would be incapacitated, but it's only 1 point, so she's fine. What about Thrag? What's the damage coming in on Thrag? A 1, very, very lucky. Thrag's dodge, oh boy, because of his armor, it's only 24. I think he's gonna take this. Yep, he's gonna take that too. But where does he take the damage? Also in the body and in the groin. Ooh. But what about these dudes here? You know what? With these guys, I'm not gonna stat them up individually. I'm just gonna basically give them a quick dodge roll, and the better they do, the less damage they take. If they fail, they're gonna be wounded, and if they fail really bad, it could crush them entirely. Here's the first guy, 10. He's okay. He's good. He dodges out of the way. And the second guy, 64. He's going to be slightly wounded. I will make a note of that. They leap out of the way as the masonry parts of the ceiling are falling down, crashing among them, and they decide to take, oh, I don't know, let's call it this route here as they make their way through there. We pull another card at random. And it is a long, simple, single hallway, but it looks like there's either a chasm in the floor or perhaps some sort of rent in the earth where maybe there was shifting earth or an earthquake happened or something like that. I'm gonna take this white bead as an indicator as what room they're in, so I remember. 6. Weird descriptors or clues for the future. Okay, so as they make their way into here, this is room 2. What are the descriptors of this area? Proceed. 13. Proceed with chaos. They're trying to track down the Death Knight. They're trying to find his lair. They found this rent in the... Oh, proceed with the chaos, perhaps of the kind of chaotic power or magic that the Death Knight is using to communicate with the Lich. Yeah, this would be interesting. Okay, so what they see here, there is in fact a channel cut in the earth. It's basically this chamber turns into a ruined chamber or roadway at one point. It's mostly a cavern now, but as they come into it, they can see that it's cut through in the center. There's a channel that's maybe, I don't know, almost 10 feet deep in the center that's bisecting the old hallway or roadway, whatever it was. But there is a strange sense that Vale immediately senses as she's sort of using her previous spell to kind of sense the location of the Death Knight. This is like a residual channel of power that is ultimately going to lead back to that nexus point that the Death Knight is communicating with the Lich to. So she knows that they're on the right track. And in fact, I think she turns to Thrag and says, I can sense a fell and terrible power emanating from the center of this chamber. I believe that if we continue to follow this, it will lead us directly to the Death Knight. We must Hurry, we are close, Thrag. We are very, very close. We now put the third room down. Boom. This. Yeah, it's like a series of old hieroglyphics or something on the floor ahead of them as they make their way through a doorway into another antechamber. But before they get too far, let us see exactly what the deal is in this room. 5. Another weird descriptor or event. Okay, so we've got these cool looking hieroglyphic things. So let's see what the nature of this area is. Carry 24. Carry emotion. Okay, all right, I think that's cool. So as they make their way into this area, I think that the original inhabitants of Enchiriri, or not the original necessarily, but the some of the older generations of Enchiriri when they were still living in the old city, I think that they recorded their history in these large carved hieroglyphics. I don't think that this is actually carved into the ground like it appears here. I think what this was a wall as part of a building, perhaps a temple or a archival house of some sort. I think this wall has fallen to the ground and cracked in several places, but they still see these ancient hieroglyphs. What they discover, carrying an emotion. I think that Vale is immediately overwhelmed by the emotion of fear, the overwhelming fear that the Death Knight is generating just by being in this proximity. The fear ripples through her and Thrag and the other two guys. Now, I don't think for her and Thrag this is going to be a willpower roll against this fear yet, because they're part of the Order of the Purifying Flame and they are used to dealing with such undead horrors, but I don't know about these guys. Now, I said this wasn't a hazard, so I'm not gonna make them roll a willpower here to see if they break and flee, but it is foreboding. I think that the power of the fear of the Death Knight is very strong, so therefore what that's gonna mean is, if they do encounter the Death Knight at some point, these two guys are going to be penalized on any willpower rolls they have to make against that fear that is projecting from the Death Knight. Other than that, they gingerly step amongst the hieroglyphs of the fallen wall. Again, silence reigns in here. And they take the southern passage, which leads to, at random, this. There are several sinkholes in the room, and you can see where the cobblestone pavement of what were once city streets turns into more of an actual cavern with sinkholes. So I think this is a section of the city that did, or a section of the area that got hit by whatever cataclysm affected Enchiriri at this point. We've seen evidence of like earthquakes and stuff before, so I think that's what happened at one point. That's what maybe caused the fall of the city in the past. They've put down 4 cards now. Upon placing the 4th card, we're gonna roll 1d10. If we get the current number of cards or less, we find the entrance. So it's possible that the entrance is very nearby. But before we do that, let's see what is in this room, and the answer is another hazard. Activate representative. Oh, I know what that means. This is clearly a representative of the Death Knight, but it's not a fight. This is not a combat encounter. This is a hazard. So as they move into the cavern, I'm gonna make my other roll, and if I get 4 or less, the entrance to the lair is here. Oh, it is not. Okay, all right, they're close. They're very close, but they're not there yet. Activate representative. As they move into this cavern, there's skeletons on the ground. These guys who are now susceptible to the fear. These 2 guards are kind of quaking in their boots a little bit as they're making their way. And as they move among the bones of the skeletons, at one point, the dust around one of them begins to swirl almost like a little mini vortex, almost like a little mini tornado, very, very contained. And it picks up the various pieces of bones of the skeleton, and it begins to almost like assemble it into this swirling mass of spinning bones, and the skull gets pulled up and placed on top, and the skull turns towards the group and it utters a single word: die! So this is going to be a willpower test against a static fear value, a value of 30. So 3 SLs essentially. I'm going to give the 2 of them plus 20 because of the nature of who they are, and they've dealt with this kind of stuff before. Vale's rolling on 71 with the bonus, which is 25, and that's only 2 SL. She's got to spend 1 point of resolve to increase it to 3 to beat it. So she does. She steels herself against the fear. What about Thrag? Thrag's willpower, ooh, it's not great. He's rolling on 55. Well, 1 degree of success. He too is gonna have to steel himself and roll 2 of his precious resolve. Now these guys are at a penalty because of what happened in the previous room. Well, I did say it was against a Death Knight fear. So they're not in the proximity of the Death Knight, they're in the proximity of the Death Knight's representative. So they're gonna do a straight up roll 40. The wounded guy does not make it. And the other guy will actually do it. So the wounded guy, as he's at the back, as this apparition rises up and says, die, the wounded guy at the back, he drops his gear and he turns and flees back the way they came. Vale turns, right, no, come back. And then as soon as that happens, basically this apparition begins to collapse, and I think Thrag goes up to it and smashes the skull with his axe, and it just disintegrates into dusty powder. Poosh. And then there were 3. They move on to the next room. I pull one card at random. Oh, this is an interesting one. They were nearby what was like an archival building, so I think this might be like an ancient repository of knowledge, a library or a museum of some sort, some repository of knowledge, cultural artifacts, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's cool. What is the nature of the room? 3. Oh, there's nothing here. There's nothing of interest here that's gonna help them. So, fine. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Do they find the entrance? No, they do not find the entrance yet. So they pick their way through this really fascinating room, or it would have been fascinating if any of these artifacts were still intact. But basically the whole area has been completely picked over, perhaps by vandals or thieves, tomb robbers, that kind of stuff. Or perhaps they've just been smashed over the course of time. I think they're going to continue down this passage. They enter this doorway and they move their way into another area. On to the 6th card now. Oh, well. Let's see what the purpose of the room is. 7. Encounter. Okay, an encounter doesn't necessarily mean a combat. We're gonna see what the nature of that is in a second, but what I wanna know is this the entrance? Is there an entrance to the lair here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What if you get 6 or less? No, we're not! So we have to deal with this encounter. The nature of this encounter. 58. Invade reassurance. Invade reassurance. You know what? I'm kind of stumped by this one. This one doesn't actually, this one gives me an idea. What I was thinking was originally that this was maybe a member of the Assassin's Guild who tried to go and make contact with the Death Knight, but who couldn't handle his presence, and so he collapsed in this chamber, but I don't really like that. That really doesn't do anything for me. So invade reassurance, I'm just gonna ignore that. Yep, I don't like it, so there's nothing in the room. Oh, another interesting room. Looks like we have what could be some sort of old planking wooden stairways that leads up to another separate room. What's going on in this room? 2, so nothing in this room, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 or less. And this is the entrance. In fact, if this is the case, that could be the lair. Yes, it is. They have found the entrance to the lair. Now, as soon as they walk in here, right away, these steps that are leading up into this chamber beyond, right away, they feel this palpable fear, and I think they can see a light. And the light is kind of a flickering blue light, almost like if fire was burning blue, and they hear the sound of, it could be droning, it could be a kind of in and out, perhaps a type of breathing of some sort. It's all very, very disconcerting, and the guard behind them sort of gulps audibly. Vale turns back to him. Steel yourself, my friend. We will need you to remain calm and alert. And she draws her weapon. Now, before she goes in, Thrag has the spirit mantle with him. Because he has the spirit mantle, he would have given it back to Vale. The Death Knight is not going to be surprised. Now, as they stand on the precipice, on the entrance to Mazzaroth's old quarters, where she can sense the presence of the Death Knight beyond, I need to see if the scene is interrupted or altered. The chaos factor is 5. The scene is not interrupted or altered as we rolled a 10. It continues unabated, which means that now Vale steels her resolve to face this enemy that she knows is not her true enemy, just the servant of her true enemy. But this could be her best bet at finding the location of the Lich. This is not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy. Thrag fingers his axe. and the three of them begin to move up the stairs into the chamber beyond. They enter this broken down, what appears to be some sort of entry hall with ruin and rubble everywhere. And as they move closer to the entrance there, they can see beyond what looks to be like kind of a glorified throne room in a way. This is the room of the Lich Matzaroth when he was alive, before he was a Lich. This whole room was a glorification of himself. And I think that so desirous of power was he that the whole place is sort of like a remodeling of his version of what the throne room would be if he was in control. It's obviously in ruins and there's fallen statuary. I think these statues are probably of him as well as he was in life. But as Vale steps across the threshold, in the center of the room, there is a pool. And the pool is on fire. But the fire burns kind of blue. I know that doesn't look blue there, but that's what I have. And beyond those blue flames, she sees on the throne, sitting there as if waiting, is a figure. A massive armored figure in black plate and chain armor. The creature has a helmet that is clearly of the ancient design from old Ansharir. Its hand rests on the pommel of a mighty rune sword, all covered in glistening blue runes, just as it was described to her by the assassin. A massive shield is on the left arm. She can see that the creature, it's not a skull underneath. It is the desiccated, withered flesh pulled taut over the skull. From inside the helmet, she can see two piercing beads of blue light that flicker dangerously at her, and the figure stands up to its feet, rising almost 7 feet tall. This thing is a monster. And Vale looks up, so does Thrag, as she steps into the room. The Death Knight points at Vale and says in a raspy, withered voice,
I have been expecting you, servant of Sherilyn. Now you will die.
Woohoo! We have to do a fear check. Akom has a fear threshold of 6, which means every round, people in his vicinity have to make willpower tests, and they have to achieve certain success levels. Once they get to 6 success levels, they're over the fear. They get to roll every round, but every round that they do not have 6 success levels, they must flee, fail, or fight. Flee is obviously run. Fail is collapse, and fight is fighting maniacally. All combat rolls are at -20. The guard is rolling at a -20 because of the events previous. Does this dude make his roll? Oh my god, he actually did it, and it's a critical because his willpower was 40, but he was -20, which was 20, so he gets a critical. A critical is +3 SL, so he's got 5 SL. So in this round, I think he's going to fight. Let us do Thrag. First round for Thrag. Oh, well, he will succeed, but with only 1. So he is also going to fight at -20. Vale, her willpower is 51. Come on, Vale. Oh no, that is a fail for Vale. Well, she's gonna fight too. Panic overtakes them and they just need to try and kill this thing, or destroy it rather. You cannot kill that, which is already dead. Akom acts on 6 and on 2. Yes, he acts twice in a round. Our guard is gonna act on 3. And now we roll initiatives. Thrag, D6, he is going on 3. And Vale, oh, she's going on 3, which means they all go at the same time after Akom. Okay, this is bad. I think they're panicking in terror. They're not thinking of that. They're just basically gonna try and rush. But before they can rush towards him, he moves off the dais and towards them into the same zone and raises his arm and points at Vale and then closes his fist like this and says, die. This is an innate power he has called Steel Breath. He is going to cause a 1 to 6 point wound in the chest to Vale. Boom. Lucky. It's a 1 point wound. However, she gets an endurance save, and for every SL she gets, it negates 1 damage. So this is very lucky for her. It's only 50. Come on, Vale. Oh, critical fail. Critical fail in this case would just cut her current SLs in half, but we're not tracking that for this effect, which means she's gonna take a 1-point wound in the chest. So her toughness is 2, so she doesn't have to roll the toughness die against that, but she's got a total of 2 wound points right now in the body as she cries out in pain as the Death Knight crushes the inside, almost like her heart is being squeezed, and she cries out in pain as that happens, but now it is their go. They're all terrified. I think this guy with his bow is going to shoot first. They all had their weapons out, so he fires his bow. I'm just gonna give him skill of 50 and everything. So he fires and, oh, that is a very good hit. So here's the thing. The arrow flies towards Acom. He has a large shield. He's going to defend with, check this out, 130 is his skill, pairing with the shield, which means he's gonna roll this and add +3 SLs to it. And he rolls, oh, look at that. 4 SLs versus the 4 SLs of the arrow. He gets the shield up, it bounces off of the shield. He's gonna start to incur multiple defense penalties as Vale and Thrag charge in, getting their +20 from charge, but negating the -20 from being terrified. Let's do Vale first. Oh no, she's gonna miss. Even with the charge, she misses. Thrag comes in with his axe. Okay, well, he does hit. He's defending. Normally it's 130, but he's already defended. He's using a shield, so now it's a -10 multiple defense penalty, so it's 120 plus 2 SLs. 1 plus 2 is 3. Well, he does it, but these are not very effective hits. Basically, Thrag comes in and Acom manages to get his shield up and knock it aside, and that will bring us to the end of their rounds, which means it's Acom's attack again. He rears back with this mighty rune sword, and little does Vale know, but along the side of the rune sword there are, well, obviously runes, but some of those runes spell out the name, and the name of this blade is Soul Spite. As Acom slashes towards Vale with Soul Spite, he is rolling at 110 to attack. And he will hit with 3 degrees of success, because with 110 he gets +1 SL to any successful roll. So that is 3 SL. She is going to parry, but she is bearing a -20 because she's afraid. She's in terror. She defends. Okay, well, she defends with 3 SL versus his 3, which means that the higher roll wins. So that blade gets through with 0 successes. It's gonna be a hit in the 8, which is the right arm. Oh boy, 0 degrees of success means there's no combat maneuvers he can spend, but it's going to be 4 base damage. With her shield is 5 points of armor, so she's able to get a piece of it because he can't circumvent the shield with this thing. The new round. At the top, we're gonna do our willpower rolls, but first let's see when we go. Oh my god, Thrag is on 1. Come on, Vale. Come on, give me something good. Oh my god, Vale's on 1 too. Before anything happens, they get to roll again. Buddy over here is rolling. He's rolling on 20. He'll fail. So he's still 1 SL short. She is gonna roll her willpower and get 34, so that's 3 SL, so she's halfway there. Thrag over here, Thrag's willpower is 30, which is 3, so he's good. So he masters his fear. Good, at least one of them did. But now it is Acom's go. Acom, he's going to turn to Thrag, and I think he jabs down at Thrag with this massive, massive rune sword. This is a long sword, it can be used 1 or 2 hands. He is rolling at 110, which means he's gonna, oh, this is fantastic. He rolls 2 degrees of success. Thrag is going to try and knock this aside, however, definitely he has no shield. He will, in this case, easily knocks aside the rune blade with his axe, and his arms shuddering from the force of the connection. The guard, if he shoots into melee, he could hit his friends, and he's already a -20 from the fear. So I think he's going to drop the bow and pull his blade, which is his action, and he's going to move into engage, but he can't attack. And Acom, he rears back with his second action and swings at Vale this time. Oh, this is fantastic. Only 2 SL. Oh boy, you're so lucky, so lucky. Okay, now she maybe it's -20. She's -20, so she's actually rolling at 53 this time. Oh, and she'll fail. It's not a fumble, but she will fail, which means he will hit with 2 SL. 2 SL is going to be 6 damage in the body, and I think he's going to unbalance her with his 2 SL, which he can do, so she's going to be a further minus 20 to her next roll. 6 in the body, but she's got 5 points of armor because of that shield, so she's going to take a 1-point slash in the chest, which puts her total up to 3. She's gonna roll the wound die and she's gonna add +2 to it, so she's perfectly fine. She's not taken down by that, but she is unbalanced by that hit. That was Akom's second. Now it's Thrag and Vale. Well, Vale's gonna respond in kind. She's gonna roll. She will hit with 3 degrees of success. She was minus 40 because she was unbalanced, but that's taken away now, unbalanced and afraid. He's gonna defend his first defense this time, and he's going, no problem at all. 9 degrees of success. He knocks her rapier aside like nothing. Thrag is gonna attack, and now he's gonna defend against him at minus 20, or at minus 10 because of the multi-action penalty. Thrag's coming in at 53. He will hit with 2 degrees of success, and the defense coming in plus 2 SL, so 3, and his defense overcomes Thrag's attack. Okay, that's the end of round 3. At the top of the round, everyone gets to roll their willpower. This guy is still terrified. No, he's still terrified. Vale, she does not get the fear penalty for this willpower test. Yes, that'll do it. She is up to 4, which puts her up to, so she's good. She masters her fear as well, and Thrag is already good. So that brings us to initiative. I'm gonna roll them both at the same time, Thrag and Vale. Oh, Thrag's on 6, Vale's on 3, which means Thrag actually goes first this round. So he swings now. Come on, Thrag. Give me a 75, give me, oh my God. You know what, this is so important. I think he's gonna spend 3 resolve to re-roll that. We need a hit on this guy. Oh my God, he will miss again. That was Thrag. Akom didn't have to defend, but Akom is going to turn, let's do it random once again. It's going to be on this guy. Akom spins around, and he is going to chop down at +1 SL. To attack. Oh wow, Akom is getting week after week after week hit. Dude is going to try and parry it aside, or dodge, actually. I think he's gonna dodge. He does with 4, he manages to dodge out of the way. Amazing, but even though, wait, no, lies. Lies. His dodge was 50 minus 20 because he's still afraid. 30. It means he's failed. He gets hit in the body for 2 degrees of success, which is going to be a 6-point damage. Basically, I'm going to take a tip out of Savage Worlds right now. He's got 3 states. He's fine, he's wounded, he's out. So Akom spins and hacks deep into the guy's chest as he tries to dodge but fails because he's too terrified. And he gets whacked down. Okay, that was Akom, which brings us to the guard and Vale. Let's do the guard first. The guard's gonna, no doubt, ineffectually roll. Yes, he will miss completely. But now Vale is gonna attack. She's no longer afraid. She actually wants to cast a spell, but if she casts a spell in combat, it has to be a touch attack. So her turn is to withdraw, to make a fighting withdrawal. And unfortunately, she can't do much else except she begins to try and pull for that spirit mantle because she's going to try and cast a spell. Meanwhile, Thrag is going to attack Akom at his full amount. Here he comes in with the 75. Oh my God, Thrag, what is going on, dude? What is going on? Akom is going to attack. Oh, likely Thrag, but let's see. Oh no, he's got a taste for blood over here on the wounded dude. Akom swings at the wounded dude with a 5. Oh no, that's a critical hit. Critical hit means it's an additional +3, so he actually hit the guy in the body for 8 SLs. Can our guy dodge? He's still afraid. He's rolling at 30. Oh no, he does not, which means 8 SLs. He's lightly armored. This guy gets cut in half. Well, that's the end of the help. We go back to a new round. This is not good. They have not landed a single hit on him yet. Here we go. Initiatives 5 and 1. Vale. God damn, Vale. Akom goes first. He swings at Thrag right in front of him. Again, a 3 SL hit in the arm against Thrag's defense of 45. Very lucky. Manages to parry that aside, and now it is back to Thrag as he tries to land a hit on Akom in this new round. He will. Akom is going to defend. Gonna be a +3 SL. Oh yeah, no problem. He completely bats it aside. So Akom's rolling terrible for attack, but very good on his defenses. Bang, 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 bang. Which brings us to Akom again. Akholm is once again going to turn his attention to Thrag for his second attack, which means Thrag's going to take his multiple defense penalty here. Oh, this is bad. Okay, all right, well, it's 4 SL. Come on, Thrag, defend -20, so he's rolling at 55. Oh no, critical fail. Critical fail means that he's going to be at a tactical disadvantage. He's going to be -20 to his next thing. And he fails this attack coming in on the body with 4 SLs. That's going to be a big hit. You know what? I don't think we can afford this. I think Thrag has to spend his last 3 resolve to re-roll this defense on 55. Come on, buddy. Well, that's critical. That's critical. Okay, good. So he got 4 SL versus 4 SL, but the higher number wins, so he gets a 0 SL hit to the body, which means a 4 damage hit to the body. Luckily, Thrag has mail armor on and takes no damage from that, thank God. Boom! The armor saves him. And now we go to Vale at the end of the round. She is going to cast a spell. She's pulled the Spirit Mantle out to draw upon its bonus SLs as she goes, as she basically turns and points at the Death Knight and says, "No, you die!" And she casts the spell. Destroy Spirit. And she can draw upon the bonus SLs of the Spirit Mantle because of this. She's going to point at him and do the same thing to him that he did to her, except that she is basically randomly picking a spot on his body to sever the mystical connection between him and the Lich, doing damage to his undead form, essentially. The range is close. That's 2. So it's going to be a random location on that target, so that's 1. The duration is going to be instant. And now the potency. She really wants this to be powerful. He is going to get a save against this. He does take full damage from Destroy Spirit Magic, as makes sense. She is going to spend 4 potency on this to make this a D10 damage. And she's going to do an additional potency to make a -20 to his willpower save. Also, when she casts a spell, there's going to be weave reactions. So there's a lot of magic going on right here, and I think the weave is definitely paying attention. So the weave reaction is going to be 3, which means that spell is 11. Destroy Spirit, which now, because she leveled it up, because she increased it with her experience point, she's rolling at 70. Here we go, rolling at 70. And, oh, that is awesome. Okay, she's got 6 SL. What does the Spirit Mantle give today? It gives 4. Okay, so she is rolled now 6. She's got a total of 4 from the Spirit Mantle, which would be 7, 8, 9, 10. So she's gonna draw all 4 from the Spirit Mantle, and she's gonna have to spend 1 resolve of hers to mitigate she doesn't want to take any weave reactions here. She doesn't have to do that. She could let the weave reaction happen. She doesn't want that. She wants to get rid of it. So she's going to spend 1 resolve and meet that 11, which is fantastic. The spell goes off exactly as intended, and now he must roll a willpower. The Death Knight must, but because she spent potency on this, it's going to be -20. He resists against this kind of magic at 40. -20 is 20. This is very good. But if he makes 20 or less, he completely shrugs off the damage. And he does not, which means that Vale does 1d10 damage to a random hit. I think the random location was supposed to be based on the spell roll, but I've already picked up the dice, so I'm just gonna determine where that is. It's gonna be the body. 1d10 damage, just like a wound. Pow! To the Death Knight. What damage does she do? Oh, that's really good. 7 damage. Now, the Death Knight does not make a wound die roll because he's got no flesh, he's got no pain, nothing like that. And his lethality level, okay, they've hurt him, but he's nowhere near destroyed. We go to new round. Oh boy, this double action thing of Akholm is terrible. Who designed this encounter? Let us see where our initiatives are at. Oh, well. So Thrag, Akholm, Vale, Akholm. Thrag goes first. Come on, buddy. You have to hit him. You're not afraid. You're not unbalanced. You're rolling at 75. 69. That is a very good hit. He's going to defend with +3 SL because of that big shield. Oh. This is good. This is good. 5 SL versus 6, which means Thrag actually hits him. It's not a very good hit. It's not enough to actually do any combat maneuvers, but it is going to hit him in the left arm. Thrag is going to do 6 damage because of that shield that gets in the way. It's 9 armor points. Nothing happened. Thrag's axe glances off the Death Knight's shield. Akholm has been wounded by Vale, but he's got this fierce dwarf who's throwing axe strike after axe strike towards him. He's gonna have to try and deal with this dwarf. He's rolling with +1 SL. He's gonna roll a 6 SL. Come on, Thrag. First defense of the turn. Oh, well, that's gonna be 2. So 6 minus 2, he's gonna hit with 4 SLs. That's no good. He hits for a total of 4 SLs, which is gonna be 8 damage in the leg, knocks him prone because he can spend the SLs on that, and now 8 minus his armor in the leg. Ooh, that's a 6-point wound to Thrag. Oh, and where does this happen? This happens in the knee. This is really bad. He's rolling his wound die +3 to this. 4 + 3 is 7, which is over the wounds in his leg. So he's taken a total of 7 wounds at this point. Bad news, and he's prone, but his leg is not incapacitated from that hit. Okay, this brings us to Vale now. She's got to try and do the same kind of thing again. I think she sees Thrag go down, she cries out, Thrag, and she begins to cast that spell again. This time I think she's going to specifically aim for the body because she knows she's caused him damage somewhere in there. It's going to increase the spell to 12. So this time she's casting a spell at 70. She's got to get really high because it's going to cost her a lot. 51, that's good. She can't draw upon the Spirit Mantle anymore, which means if she wants to get rid of all the Weave reactions, it's going to cost her an additional 7 resolve, which she could do. You know what? She's gonna do it. So the spell goes off. The Death Knight does get a save, but a -20. He will fail, which means that Vale is going to do 1d10 damage to him. It's a costly spell. She doesn't have a lot more of these in her. What damage does she do? She does 10 damage to him in the chest. Oh, that's awesome, because now he's taken 17 in the chest, which is over his lethality level. This is perfect. Perfect. She calls out, she sees her companion Thrag on the ground with this Death Knight looming over him because he's got another action after Vale's thing, and he's about to strike Thrag, who's prone and gonna just get killed by this, and she says no, and she calls up on the power of the Weave and extends her hand and crushes the inside of his blackened undead heart, trying to sever the connection between him and the lich that controls him. She's done 15, no wound die, but we do a death die. This is so important right now. 17 or less on this red D20, and down goes the Death Knight. Down he goes! She severs the connection between the lich. The Death Knight with his rune sword up kind of looks at her. His glowing eyes flare blue for a second in shock. And then they go out as he collapses to the ground. Whatever fell undead power that was animating him snuffed out by the power of the Order of the Purifying Flame. She rushes up to Thrag. Thrag, are you all right? He kind of looks at her and nods. The rune sword, Soul Spite, the blue glowing runes along its blade slowly flickering out, much as did the lights in the helmet as the Death Knight collapses to the ground. His reign of evil ended here, which leaves Vale and Thrag in the room of Matzaroth that served as the connection between the Lich and the Death Knight. My question for the fate chart is, does this flaming vortex, this tear in the weave, does this not only act as a nexus point to connect the Death Knight and the Lich, but does it also, in fact, act as a portal that will lead Vale and Thrag directly to wherever Matzaroth is hiding? That is a question that I'm going to have to answer next time on the next episode of Me, Myself, and I. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And if you do want to help support the show, please do consider hitting liking and subscribing, and help support the game, and help support me on Patreon, and all the things you could do are listed below. Thank you, and I will see you on the next episode of Me, Myself, and Die.